I tried to tell him.
Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a loving embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. I like smoking lightning, heavy metal thunder, racing with the wind, and the feeling that I'm under. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a loving embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. Like a true nature's child, we were born to be wild. We can climb so high, I never wanna die. Born to be wild. Born to be wild. Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure.
This week on Gilmore Girls, that easy riding yuppie monster himself, Christopher, rides into the girls' lives and creates all havoc around Stars Hollow. Yes, it's the official debut of one of the most divisive Gilmore Girls characters ever. It's Christopher. Christopher's first day in Stars Hollow doesn't go exactly according to plans. Now, we had the big cliffhanger last time when he rode back into town, rode back into their lives. And in case you don't know the backstory, her or him and Lorelai got pregnant. Lorelai did, more accurately, with Rory when she was only 16. They both were only 16, and Christopher couldn't handle the pressure at that age, so he decided to bail. And as we learn in this episode, his whole life kind of didn't go to plan from there because he ended up dropping out of Princeton. And we find out a little bit more about Christopher. He he is one of these characters, even though he's meant to be this quite cool, down to earth, hippie style dad. There are other aspects of him that make him look like some sort of yuppie. Maybe it's his background, but we certainly get a sense of that from his monstrous father, especially in this episode. So we'll talk more about that. But fair play to the suave son of a bitch. He actually makes a decent impression, at least for half of this episode. So it's not a bad debut for Christopher. He's not my favourite character, but I'm not going to shit on him for too much, at least in this episode. There is an incident later on I'll talk about. But anyhow, he starts endearing himself to Rory, whilst obviously Lorelai is concerned about the lasting impact. She's kind of spooked to see him back in town, back in their lives, partly because maybe she's worried she'll do something she'll regret around him, but also mostly concerned about the effect it's going to have on Rory, and will he get her hopes up only to dash them and disappoint her. So anyway, Rory spends the day with Christopher pretty much. She invites him to Dean's baseball. Well, they call it softball, but is that like rounders in America? I think it might be, but it's so. If it is baseball and they're just calling it softball, that really is weird. So I'm gonna assume it is rounders, but why you would call any sport softball, I have no idea. Americans sort it out. But yeah, Dean's softball game, Christopher gets invited to, and that's a really fun scene actually because we have Kirk sitting behind Rory and Christopher, and this is Kirk kind of at his best, winding Luke up because he's shouting all these comments from the stands. He's sort of mocking Luke and Dean because that he's saying essentially they can't play. You know, one can't hit and the other can't catch. So you should be like the perfect team. And I especially love his line. He calls them like the perfect team name would be 0 and 0, which is great. And it ends with Kirk basically saying, "Hey Luke, does your husband play softball?" I have a feeling we're starting to get towards the classic Kirk, which is so beloved by all Gilmore Girls fans. He's up there with Paris, I think, for one of those just tremendous like comic relief style characters that just so oddball and quirky and funny. So we get a sample of that um, here, and we get Luke running after him in a strop. So that's all good stuff, and they do develop a bit of a rivalry, Kirk and Luke. But anyway, Dean meets Christopher, and I think a lot of the drama in this episode is kind of relatable. Christopher maybe obviously putting on a polite front when he meets Dean, but at the same time, it's like he's checking him out, and I guess it's a big deal for Christopher meeting his daughter's boyfriend because he's not been in her life the past 16 years, bar the odd kind of family get together or whatever. I think they say the last time they've seen each other is at Christmas, but anyway, he's not been in her life very much is the point. So, and this is the first time he's, I guess, heard of her having a boyfriend. So, it's like a big sort of moment. For some reason, he says Dean's name wrong. Now, whether that's intentional and he's just being an arse, or if it's, I don't know, it's meant to be an accident. But hey, how hard is it to say the name Dean? I guess they're just playing off that old riff of, you know, subconsciously getting the name wrong sort of thing. But whatever, it's a little on the weird side, but things go pretty well there, and then they go around Stars Hollow, including in a bookstore. And what happens is they bump into Miss Patty, who's like her usual flirty self, and she starts like gossiping as soon as they leave. It's not really gossip, but she phones people around town to tell her, hey, oh, Christopher's here, Rory's dad. So then we see a classic Stars Hollow type thing with people talking all around them. Jackson at one point, it's a little odd in this episode because Jackson doesn't strike me as a gossip, but he's kind of gossiping with the worst of them about Christopher here. And there's a scene when they go into a bookstore and the like the counter guy, who I got the impression might have been gay and might have had a thing for Christopher, but him and Jackson are in there and they're debating whether Christopher looks like George Clooney or Brad Pitt, which is pretty funny. I would say neither personally, but there you go. I guess quirky, weird Stars Hollow logic there. And Christopher wants to buy Roy this book, which is basically the Oxford English Dictionary. Roy says it's a special edition, it has every word ever. It's sort of a bit odd, I guess, me as a Brit thinking, well, the Oxford English Dictionary. Is it really that special a book? But I don't know. Maybe in America it's seen as that. But anyway, Rory is drawn to it, and Christopher wants to get it for her, and unfortunately he can't because his credit card's declined. And it's a good visual gag actually because the book is like literally massive. I'm sure they're like exaggerating for the gag, but that's good stuff. But as I said, the card's declined, and Christopher's like, "Hey, can you hold this for me? I'll come back tomorrow with another card." And another thing about the episode and about Christopher is that like there's a scene in the morning like after Rory's gone to do some homework. Lorelai's straight in there with why are you here sort of thing, and he tells them about this new business venture. He's got a new business start which looks like it could be really big, and I guess that soon becomes a myth, or it's not a myth about the business in the first place, but it's just a myth that he still has it going because, as we find out later, the deal has fallen through and Christopher's lacking in the money department, and that's why his card's declined. But anyway, it sort of all builds to this big Friday night dinner scene where Emily, being her mysterious self, invites not just Christopher along with Rory and Lorelai, but also Christopher's parents over. And this is a big moment for Rory because she's never met Christopher's parents, so it's like another set of grandparents she's never met. Now, I'll say I recognise both the actors playing the grandparents, Christopher's parents. I can't say what from though, but I've definitely seen them in other stuff. They're good sort of solid character actors, but yeah, this is quite a scene where we start seeing just how snobby the dad is. The mother's fine; she's no real problem, but the dad is a real snob. What do they call him? Slade or there's a clip later with Emily mentioning that Slade or something. It's something like that. Some weird sort of like nickname or something. But yeah, he is just the worst because when Lorelai mentions about the hotel that she's running, he's really snobby about her having this working class job, as he puts it, like blue collar in a demeaning way, and then says, well, you know, if you went to college and got a proper education, maybe you wouldn't be stuck in that dead end blue collar job. All words to that effect. He's a real arse, as Emily fittingly calls him later. But I tell you what, let's have a clip of this scene because Richard steps in and he puts this snob in his place. This is glorious. Take a look at this.
Honey, go in the next room. Go.
I'm going to have to echo Christopher's call for civility here. A mutual mistake was made many years ago by these two, but they've come a long way since.
A mutual mistake, Richard. This whole evening is ridiculous. We're supposed to sit here like one big happy family and pretend that the damage that was done is over, gone? I don't care about how good a student you say that girl is.
Hey!
Our son was bound for Princeton. Every Hayden male attended Princeton, including myself, but it all stopped with Christopher. It's a humiliation we've had to live with every day, all because you seduced him into ruining his life. She had that baby, and she ended his future.
You recant that stroke.
Spilling my drink!
You owe my daughter an apology.
An apology? That is rich.
How dare you? How dare you?
Richard, what
How
are you
dare you
doing?
come into my house and insult my daughter?
Let go of me!
Whoa, what is going on here?
Shame on you, Strobe. Shame on you for opening all of this up again.
Get your purse,
My
Francine.
daughter is very successful at what she does.
We're leaving.
You're not leaving. I'm kicking you out.
Hell yeah, did Richard kick ass or did he kick ass? My favourite line of that was, how dare you, my daughter's very successful at what she does. You're not leaving, I'm kicking your ass. His delivery is fantastic. Great actor, Edward Herman. What a sad loss he is. But that's tremendous from Richard right there. Put that snob in his place. Unfortunately, he lets himself down a little bit in this next scene with Lorelei.
Okay. Well, look. Thank you.
Thank me for what?
Well, for what you did in there, I'm just unbelievably touched and grateful for what you said to him, for defending me like that. I know it was hard for you because, well, but thank you.
Why do you think I did it?
What?
Why do you think I did it?
I don't know. Out of protectiveness, I guess.
You don't need to be protected, Lorelei. You've made it very clear that you can look after yourself and that you need nothing from anyone.
That's not,
A member of my family was being attacked. The very Gilmore name was being attacked. I will not stand for that, not under any circumstances.
Okay, well, it doesn't really matter why you did it.
Yes, it does matter why I did it. It matters greatly. Lorelei, what are you going to take away from this? That everything that happened in the past is suddenly fine because I defended you?
No.
That the hell that you put your mother and me through for the past 16 years is suddenly washed away? Well, it's not.
We've all been through hell, Dad.
I had to tell my friends, my colleagues, that my only daughter, the brightest in her class, was pregnant and was leaving school.
That must have been devastating.
And then you run away and you treat us as lepers. Your mother couldn't get out of bed for a month. Did you know that? Did you?
No.
We did nothing to deserve that. Nothing to earn that.
I get it. I'm horrible. So why don't you disown me and adopt Christopher? You love him.
Don't be a martyr, Lorelei. Don't be naive. Do you think I loved the boy who got my daughter pregnant? I wanted to kill him. I would have, too, with my bare hands. But there was a proper procedure to be followed in a situation like this.
Marriage.
Christopher was willing to follow the procedure we laid out. You weren't.
What about what I wanted? Dad, didn't that matter to you at all?
Sometimes one has to sacrifice something in order to do what is right.
I feel indescribably sad for you right now, Dad.
Well, save your emotions, Lorelei. I've had my fill of them tonight.
Wow. Just wow. Words fail me, Richard. You really blew it there. Haven't done so well in the previous scene. Unbelievable, Richard. Come on, sort it out. Now, I am going to defend him a little bit in this, and this is me, like, sort of reading into this, but I want to put a positive spin on it because it was such a great scene, you know, when he put, what was his name, Strobe or something in his place. He kicked such ass and spoke so well. So I'm going to read into this, then he at least partly meant what he said about Lorelei, like the positives and sticking up for her and saying, you know, it was a mistake 16 years ago. And I think as we see in Gilmore Girls, I think Emily and Richard, because of their backgrounds and stuff, they are meant to be a little bit sort of snobby, and they always have this tension with Lorelei, who chose a very different path for herself. But ultimately, they are good people who care for their family and care for, particularly Rory. Obviously, there's more tension between them and Lorelei. They're closer to Rory in many ways, but even so, they care about their family as a whole. So I'm going to be positive with this one and sort of say that, yeah, then Richard did actually mean what he said, and that maybe deep down that's how he feels, rather than, you know, what he says later to Lorelei. Obviously, there's probably a part of him that thinks that, I guess, being quite a traditional guy, he feels, well, you should have handled it better. You should have maybe settled down and got married, made the best of it. Never mind the fact that it was actually Wonder Kid Chris who walked out on her, but, you know, anyway. Although, I don't know, I think it was her choice not to get married, certainly, but it was Christopher who left them in the lurch. But good scene anyway, good drama. I think that feels like a real sort of conflict and fight. So good stuff, even though Richard doesn't entirely cover himself in glory, but I'm gonna kind of retcon sort of think that he was more accurate in his previous scene in how he really feels. But yeah, very very interesting scene. But I have to say, Emily in the next scene steals the episode right out from under his nose. And if there's any doubt her position on the matter, well, just take a look at this.
Strobe is actually a good man. Very smart. He was one of the top lawyers in his field, a very arcane aspect of international law. And he's always been so active in his community. His charity work has never diminished over the years. Oh, let's face it. He's a big ass. Rory, I know you heard a lot of talk about various disappointments this evening. And I know you've heard a lot of talk about it in the past. But I want to make this very clear. You, young lady, your person and your existence have never, ever been, not even for a second, included in that list.
Oh, hell yeah, Emily rocks. She just stole the episode out from Richard's nose. Suck it, Richard. Emily is the queen. I tell you what, she has her ups and downs, but boy, do I just want to marry her right now. Come on, Emily, give it up for me. Oh, man. Awesome. That's one of her best ever scenes, and it's a lovely scene with her and Rory. Just her cutting to the heart of the matter there, and sort of saying in a way what she's wanted to say for years about that idiot Strobe, I think, but also what she said to Rory, because I think Emily is at times such a, cold, sort of quite clinical sort of person. I think you probably know that she sincerely means that. And obviously it is true. I mean, it's not Rory's fault that the relationship with Christopher and her mother, went south and didn't work out. And obviously the whole drama of Lorelai getting unexpectedly pregnant at 16. So very sort of truthful words from Emily, and it's a lovely little scene. I do actually like the relationship between Rory and the grandparents. I think there's some great little scenes between them, especially maybe with her and Emily. But well said, Emily. And I think it's another relatable sort of thing that Rory's going through in the episode, because I think we've maybe all been there in some way, these awkward sort of dramas that's happening in your family, which you just feel like a stranger in them, and you just feel uncomfortable because you don't know how to deal with them, and it's all like erupting in your face. So I think the way Rory feels and acts in this episode is something we've all been through. But that's a great scene. That's, along with Richard's putting Strobe in his place earlier, that's, I think, the scene of the episode. And there's some pretty good scenes in the episode. Now, things take a turn in the next scene because Christopher and Lorelai reminisce about the past, and they're out on the balcony. And yes, that's the balcony where they got their groove on all those years ago, when sex led to Rory being brought into the world. They lost, they sort of lost their hormones, or they gave into their hormones more acceptantly. And they have a nice little moment where Christopher says that he still would have dropped out of Princeton even if they had got married, and even if Lorelai hadn't got pregnant, he actually says. But then they have sex, and it's like history repeating themselves. They give into their hormones once again. Now, I don't know how I feel about this. It feels a bit forced, but when you see the end of the episode, it actually makes sense. And because Christopher leaves at the end of this episode, then I guess I don't mind too much because it suits the drama of the episode. It's probably something I have in my head as a negative thing and sort of forced drama because, you know, later on in the series there's more stuff with them like this. But I guess in this case, because it's history repeating itself and it's a one-off and Lorelai kind of puts things right by the end of the episode, then I guess I'm not that bothered. But it leads to this whole drama, and again, there's sort of like this crossroads in Lorelai's life because she promised Luke that she would help him out that evening, decorating in the diner, and I mean they had Friday night dinner anyway. They knew about that, so I don't know if she just forgot about the Luke thing because of that, or if it's just her sleeping with Christopher meant, or well, having sex. I don't know, sleeping. They had sex on the balcony, but anyway, I don't know if that's what delayed her because she left like her parents later. But anyway, the drama sort of ramps up, and Christopher gets all excited. And Lorelai goes to apologise to Luke the next morning for standing him up. And it's a cute scene because she's in like really cute pyjamas and comes running over to the diner to apologise. But Luke's sort of hurt, feels that she's let him down. And then when she gets back to the house, Christopher, he proposes to her out of the blue. It's like, what the hell's going on, Christopher? You know, you have a bit of sex with a woman and suddenly it's like, oh, well, let's get married. And he's saying he's a different man now. He's saying, you know, we're both mature. And actually, the line of the episode might be Lorelai saying, your favourite band is The Offspring, as justifying that he's actually really immature still. He's not mature. And he's like, well, your favourite band's Metallica, come off it. It's like, well, they're more advanced than The Offspring. Offspring just play the same chord over and over again. So I love that as a musical debate, but also as a metaphor for him actually being immature. And again, not for the first time, I'm on her side because the Offspring, bar one or two songs, are a pretty mediocre to crappy band. And certainly the idea that they would be your favourite band, come on, Christopher, that does make you immature. So anyway, Lorelai stays strong and says, no, you're not ready for this. And that's when Christopher tells her that then his business hasn't worked out, his business deal, and that's why he's short on money. So they part on good terms anyway. They say goodbye, and it's sort of amicable, but hey, there's going to be more Christopher in the future. An Easy Rider rides off again, and Rory figures out that he asks Lorelai to marry him, and Rory, obviously wanting his like parents back together and a family, she wants Lorelai to do it, and it's a really mature scene. I think again Lorelai cuts to the heart of the matter, just says that he's not ready yet, he's not mature enough to take on a family, and it's actually a very realistic scene because of Rory's action. You can see that she's hurt or that she's kind of desperate for them to get married, but at the same time she doesn't give her mother a hard time about it, so it's a very reasonable response from both. And the ending of the episode is that she surprises Luke, that being Lorelai, with decorating the diner. He walks in and it's there, and that's a really good sort of scene. And I do like the end line, which is when she's suggesting one more thing, which is manly curtains for the diner, which is brilliant. So good stuff. It ends on a positive note, and really strong episode, actually. Some good drama. I enjoyed it a lot. Some good character stuff. And yeah, I have to say, Christopher wasn't a total douchebag, which is quite a result for him, because as I remember, I'm not the biggest fan of this character or some of the storylines involving him. It may change on a rewatch, who knows? But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Christopher? Do you like the character? Do you think he acts with sincere, motivations? Let me know in the comments what you think of this character, because he's out of the picture again for now, but he will return in the future. But good episode. I enjoyed this one a lot. And coming up next time, we have Stars Crossed Lovers. See what they did there. Stars Hollow, Stars Crossed Lovers. And that episode will focus on Rory and Dean's 3-month anniversary, but things don't go to plan, because of course they don't. And also, Luke's ex, Rachel, comes into town. So that could lead to some interesting stuff with Lorelai. But that's next time on Gilmore Girls. I'll be back soon with that review. I'm doing these more regularly at the moment. For other older shows I'm reviewing, you can check out my reviews of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm about halfway through the 2nd season of that, if you're a fan of that show. Also The X-Files, another cult show. I'm just over halfway through the 1st season of that, I would say. So I'm posting these a bit more regularly at the moment because not a lot going on. But in terms of newer stuff, you can also check my reviews of the Channel 4 show It's a Sin, the drama about the AIDS development in the 1980s. Really good show. I've got one more episode to review of that. So if you're interested in checking that out, then you've got 4 reviews already up on the channel, and the 5th and final review coming up. But like and subscribe, as I said. You can also ding the bell on YouTube to get notifications when I go live or when a new video goes up. Also look me up on Twitter at Keith Beard if you want to. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Born to be wild, baby.